Okay, last time you guys saw this car, it had just blown its engine in a very spectacular fashion. Have since fixed the car, so we're going to tune the car, and part of what we want to see today is do these turbos like a smaller displacement engine. You see these turbos run on like 4 cylinders and stuff, and they typically will make more power than what we were seeing with this particular combo. They were basically maxing out at about 450 horsepower per turbo. So we have added a intake air temperature sensor pre-intercooler, so we can see what the temperature coming out of the compressor is. And also we are going to install billet wheels. So this is the cast wheel that comes with the GT3582s, and this is a billet wheel which you can buy. So you can see they're very similar construction, but the billet wheel has a much smaller entry diameter on like the stem where the turbine sticks through, and it also has very different profiles on the blades, which allows it to draw in much more air. Additionally, it is about 20 grams lighter than the cast wheel, so we're going to find out if that adds up to more horsepower. My theory is less energy being consumed by the compressor means less energy needed to drive the turbine, so your back pressure should go down. There is some debate with this, and we're going to find out. We have back pressure reading, and we're also going to have EGT. So without further ado, let's get started. Last time we were here with this car, it made 840 on 17 pounds of boost. So with the smaller cubic inch, write down one number, and with the billet wheel, write down the other number, and we'll hand the papers to Cameron.
Okay.
17 pounds? Both at 17 pounds.
Okay.
850, 870. I'm just going to tell you. All right. Here's my vote. I'll give you a quick rundown on what we have. It's a destroked 6-liter with twin GT3582s. It has square port heads, Snake Eater 1500cc injectors, twin 50 millimeter wastegates. Previously we had a 6-liter, aluminum block 6-liter in it, but this time around we put a 6-liter with a 4.8 liter crank And we actually found a set of pistons that are aftermarket that are almost exactly the same weight as a 4.8 liter piston. So it's 4.8 liter crank, rods, and a piston that is the same weight as a 4.8 liter that's forged. And so we effectively have a 5.3 liter. That is smoky. All right, so 7 pounds of boost, and maybe what, 549. Okay, that's about right.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was pulling the whole way up.
Up to 72.
Okay. So it likes the RPM.
Yep.
So probably stop at like 74.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
That was wastegate.
Okay.
So I'm gonna throw 20% at it.
That was pure wastegate.
Yeah, that was 7
Nice.
pounds. Yeah.
Okay. 155 to 98.
Yep.
It's not totally horrible.
The intercooler,
The interval.
the pre-intercooler temp,
Oh,
155.
yeah. So
Post.
you took 50 degrees out.
Yeah, it took 55 out. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's not bad.
Yeah. It's the way you can turn it up. Yeah. 300 and 280.
Always putting it down.
You
always
got a
got-
500 horse intercooler.
Yeah, okay.
It ain't a 1,000 horse intercooler.
You just gotta
Fired
like.
up.
Okay.
What did you change?
Nothing. I didn't
It's
do
not even
anything.
trying to fire.
No, it don't have any.
No, it doesn't.
Have that coming in. So this will be the trigger.
All right, it is.
Switch it on?
It is on. Yep.
Okay, so you just don't know which way
So
you're.
fuel
Yeah,
pump died.
it doesn't matter.
No, the fuel pump didn't die. No,
No.
relay's no good.
Oh, there it goes.
Relay's bad.
Yeah, relay must have gotten
I got
hot.
another one. You guys got the 70 ampere though. Boy, that thing should be handling that.
Yeah. All right. Let's see.
Oh no, you don't have a 70
No,
ampere.
we don't.
No, I told you guys to get
Yes,
a
I
70
know.
ampere.
Well,
You didn't listen.
that was after this.
I got another one.
All right. Oh. Yep. There it goes. Okay. Helps when you have fuel pressure, huh? All right. Well, that was fun.
Yeah, that is not something
Yes, I
you
know.
have during a race.
We'll fix that before next weekend. This one is an older one, and ever since you showed me them, I've been putting on all this stuff. The talent has them.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
They're infallible, man. Things just
Yeah.
work.
Huh? All
It's
right.
not even trying to fire.
Get some starting fluid. I'll try that. I just changed it so it's not batch firing anymore during cranking. I'll put it back to the way it was. I mean, all right, let me try and start it. All right, it doesn't want as much fuel.
Just got to put more volts in it?
No, it wanted less.
One last?
Yeah. I don't know. All right. Well, yeah. Do you want to try 60? I guess let's try 50 because it's gonna take off. So that was 17.4 pounds boost.
That's real good, man.
Yeah. So 26 pounds.
26 pounds of drive pressure.
Right.
That's damn good.
That was only 0.4 pound, well, 0.3 pounds more boost.
0.3
Yeah.
cents, 4 horsepower.
Yeah. It didn't.
It ain't the guy that the tires ain't set. There's something.
Yeah, it's moving around. I can tell you, it's moving around.
There's from 6,200 to 6,300. Okay, which is 100 RPM.
Yep.
It makes 130 more horsepower.
Yep.
No, it don't.
Yeah.
Look at this.
Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, you seen the jumps?
Yep.
I mean, that's, well, it's impossible. It's not real. It's funny.
Pounds.
19. Yeah, it's done.
19 to 31. It's still in a good place.
You think? Okay.
872. It gained 50 horsepower.
Oh, 872.
Yeah.
So you want to take it to 17 and put the wheels on, or where are we
Yeah,
at?
let's do that. All right, so we've run the car. It made 19 pounds of boost, and it made 872 horsepower at 7,050 RPMs. Okay, that's about 1,025 to the crankshaft. So now what we're going to do is we're going to change the wheels. Now I also want to mention that the pre-intercooler temperature was 271 degrees Fahrenheit and the post-intercooler temperature was 148. So if we are getting more efficient compressing of the air, we should see that pre-intercooler temperature lower at a given boost level. So we're going to change that out and we're going to see if it creates more efficient boost. So let's get to work. right, so in our process of changing the compressor wheels, we noticed that this turbo here had a pretty excessive end play, and that's not good. If that gets too bad, you're gonna have your compressor wheel getting into your compressor housing, and you're gonna make big parts into small parts pretty soon. So we brought a spare turbo, luckily, and so we threw that onto the car. So without further ado, let's fire this thing up and see if it made any difference at all. That was 17 pounds boost.
Made less horsepower. What was it? 17 point what?
17.7.
17.7.
Yep.
Okay, so.
Wow. You want me to rev it?
That may be what it takes. Go to 78.
Okay.
And you landed 5.
Yeah.
That back pressure is way lower, which is
Lower, but we're not making as much power, so. You're right, Calvin. You're exactly right.
The cam doesn't like the back pressure.
Right?
And the compressor,
Yep.
more efficient compressor, reduce the back pressure.
Although you just slowed the car down technically because you took its mid-range away, but whatever. Yeah. But he was 100% right. What
Yeah.
was going to happen?
Yep.
I wouldn't believe that dude would not happen.
Yep.
I do now.
Yeah, I mean, because it has so much overlap, the intake and the exhaust valve are open at the same time for so long that the exhaust pressure is pushing pressure back and fighting the intake. So any reduction in back pressure is going to be huge on this engine because we have a cam with so much overlap.
Yeah. It worked.
the exhaust was pushing back too hard, so the intake charge didn't make it all the way to. So this is going to be a fun little trip. 77 or 7800?
78.
Okay. Just be careful.
Yep.
Yeah, caught 889 now. Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah.
Dang.
But we don't need to rev it because now the back pressure's off.
Yep.
So, yeah, I'd say let off, do what you're doing before. You're good at 73, 74.
Yeah, that's definitely lean. That's a little scary. I threw fuel at it. I threw like 10% fuel at it. Like,
it's a lot more power, man.
Yeah.
Another 10.
yeah. Let's see what boosted me. 19 pounds. That was 19 pounds boost.
Yeah. So that's probably about where you want it.
Yeah.
27 divided by 19 is 1.4.
Oh yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
But it's still affecting, like Calvin, it's affecting the camshaft.
Yep.
If it goes up, we put 3 more pounds in it, now the RPM short.
Right now, you add one, you get one. It's the ratio's coming down.
The ratio is.
You're getting 1 pound of back pressure, and you're getting 1 pound of boost.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it is coming
So
down.
So it went to 247 degrees on the pre-intercooler temp, which it was 270 before.
That's
Yeah,
not a lot.
and
That dropped, yeah.
it's 121 coming out
121.
of the
That's
intercooler.
Ah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
nice.
It sounded really happy.
That
Oh,
thing
yeah.
sounded good.
It sounded really good.
What'd it make?
822.
Okay. That was 19.9.
Wastegate is pinching it more. We're just raising this to try and get the loose pressure. So now we're no
Right.
longer at a 1-to-1 ratio. We've passed the happy
Yeah,
point.
you're right.
Because before, when we were going up, it was going up like this. Now it's going up.
Yeah, I think a turbo cam and some 3.5-inch exhaust, and this thing would be a killer.
Understood.
And I don't think we need to
No, I think
push it any
you're
more.
close to the limit.
I think we need to bring it back down to where it was. What was that? 45?
I think we need to go back to this is just like where we were the last pool that got
Okay,
Andy
so 50.
aborted,
Yes.
right? But we just need to,
Now that's fuel.
a little less fuel. Yeah.
It's weird how it comes in so slow.
Yeah. I revved it out a little more just because I could feel the converter just and then it finally grabbed. All right, so in our little experiment today, we went from a cast wheel to a billet wheel, and we saw just about zero power gain. We went from 872 horsepower at 19 pounds of boost to 872 horsepower at 19 pounds of boost. All right, so if you remember at the beginning of the day, we made our guesses on what the car would make at 17 pounds of boost with the cast wheel versus the billet wheel. And I guessed it would make 850 with the cast wheel and 870 with the billet wheel. My dad guessed 817 and 855, and Dustin guessed 901 and 912. So Dad was the closest, so I guess you get the prize of...
I gotta clean up. Thanks.
I was going to say a milkshake, but...
Just don't tell Mom.
All right, so overall, I think it was a pretty good day.
Every day is good when you're backing out on its own power.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. So,
Every day.
Learned a lot about cheap turbos.
yeah, yeah,
Not gonna hold up.
yeah. So let's get this thing unstrapped and go have some fun. All right, so a few days have passed. The car now has a front end, and I got a haircut. So we looked over the data quite a bit because we were pretty perplexed as to why the car didn't make more power when we made changes. We could clearly see in the data where the car, we now have a wheel speed sensor on the car. We could clearly see where the wheel speed was 135 miles per hour, and then it very abruptly shot down to 125 miles per hour and then continued out. So clearly it was rotating the tire faster than the roll on the dyno. We kept thinking it was some behavior of the torque converter or something like that. Clearly it was spinning the tire. Now, in theory, the engine RPM is at a certain point, and then the engine RPM goes down and then goes back up. on the dyno graph, it should go back in time and then continue another line, but I guess with how the dyno software is set up, it only records new data points. So we missed the power peak on probably every single pool that was greater than probably 600 horsepower, and that sucks. That being said, there are a few takeaways. We can give you some temperature data, we can give you some back pressure data. Our first comparison we did today was we did the comparison of a larger engine to a smaller engine and saw that effect on our little tiny turbos. So we went from a standard bore and stroke 6 liter to a shorter stroke 6 liter. So it's a 4-inch bore with a 4.8 liter stroke, which is a 3.27 with a 4-inch bore. So we call that a 5.3. It's technically a 5.4, but you know, when people ask, you say, oh, it's just a 5.3, but you know, one of those stupid jokes we tell people. So that change, that went from 17 psi on the old engine to 17 psi on the new engine. It went from 840 horsepower to 820 horsepower. Now, you're probably saying, that's less horsepower. Well, it lost 10 psi back pressure, and if you go cubic inch to cubic inch, it went from 2.3 wheel horsepower per cubic inch to 2.5 wheel horsepower per cubic inch. So I would say that's a substantial improvement. The next comparison that we did was we stuck billet wheels onto the turbos. Now, I will say, I don't think the fact that they were billet had anything to do with it. I think the blade geometry was just better. You could probably make a cast wheel with that geometry and it would perform just as well. So, when we made that change, we saw an increase in compressor efficiency of around 5%. The discharge temps went down 30 degrees, and the intake air temps went down 20 degrees. Additionally, the back pressure went down 5 psi. So all that should add up to a lot more horsepower. We were unable to measure it. We had radials on the car. We probably should have put straps that pulled the car down, like what Cameron suggested. And additionally, we could have put in some traction compound onto the tires. Hindsight's 2020. You know, we were thinking it was another issue, and it wasn't until later when I had time to really digest the data and I wasn't paying attention to oil pressure, you know, as my primary focus, that we finally, you know, looked and, oh, well, that's clear as day. So, alright, so I want to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comment. What do you think of our billet versus cast experiment? Do you think it's worth a swap? Do you think there's anything that we should have done differently? Make your comments down below. Make sure you like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.